Alright, let's play some Crusader Kings, the Deus Vult expansion. Also playing with the 2.1 beta patch and the Deus Vult Improvement Pack mod. My name is Flying MacGuffin, and let's get started. Alright, we're going to be playing at 1066, the earliest start available. And we're going to be doing something a little differently than the other video Let's Plays that I've seen. We're going to be doing a heavy Crusader game. We're going to be starting as the Duchess of Brittany, which will still soon be the Queen of Brittany. And we're going to be wanting to basically go where the Pope tells us to go and set up a Crusader kingdom as soon as we possibly can, and then eventually we're going to abandon Europe completely and just start going with that. So let's get started. Alright, here we go. This is the starting screen, standard scenario. My settings are, it is on normal difficulty with the weakling aggressiveness because the mod recommends it, and pretty much that's the only reason I'm doing it. I've heard that the AI tends to overexpand and collapse on itself if it is on a higher aggressiveness. So there's that. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is pause the game. And now, in this part, I'm pretty much going to be explaining the interface and what different things mean. I'm not going to go into too much depth until things actually come up that are important, but I'll explain why I'm doing things for the most part and go over a basic overview of the interface and the map. Now, this is what the thing that comes up when you start the game, and what I did first was I paused the game by clicking the date up here. This is the date. As you can see, we start December 26th of 1066. Now, I have it set so that it auto-saves every year. So basically what's going to happen when I start the game and unpause it is that it's going to run 4 days, and then it'll auto-save. I'm going to let it do that just to kind of fill out things a bit and let a couple things happen. Now, because of the speed I'm playing on and because of the slight lag that happens when it autosaves, yeah, it stops anywhere from 7 to the 11th of January. So yeah. I'll try to minimize that as much as possible. A lot of times you won't even see it, but when it does come up, I'll try to avoid it and cut out as much of the hiccups as possible. Now, we are the Kingdom of the Duchess of Brittany, and let's go over, before we get into that, let's go over the interface a little bit. Up here, like I said, is the date menu. We click on it. We can click on it to make the game pause and unpause. Below that is kind of our alerts. This one's showing that we can create titles. This one's showing that we have some of our advisors not assigned. We'll get into that a little bit later. This here indicates the game is paused, obviously. This here is our kind of a resource thing. Here we have our stability, which basically just influences events. It goes from +3 to -3. And +3, at higher levels, you'll get a bonus to stuff. And I don't think it actually gives you a direct bonus to anything, but it gives you better events. And at lower stability, it gives you worse events. It's a good thing to have. I'm going to try to increase it as much as possible. You can't really do anything directly to increase it, but if you start going to war with people, it has a chance of going down. And if you go into debt, it has a chance of going down. If you're excommunicated, it has a chance of going down. I'll try to avoid those things. Well, the exception of war, you kind of have to go through that. This is our gold. It's our money, basically. Money is good. It's used for maintaining troops and transporting troops and building province improvements. This is our prestige. This is basically our clout within the feudal system. We don't have a leader, a master per se. We don't have a master at all, with the exception of maybe the Pope, if you want to consider that. Um, Basically, you use this to gain titles and stuff. You can spend some prestige to grab titles and stuff like that, which you need to declare war on people, and I'll explain that a bit later when we kind of get into start doing that. It's also kind of the score of the game. If we press F2, it brings up the victory progress screen, and as you can see, Germany is really, really powerful, and we're kind of at the bottom of here. So yeah, it's a number of factors are added into the score, but I know that the prestige is added. Next to that is piety, which is kind of our ecclesiastical standing, our standing within the Catholic Church, because we are Catholic. It also is basically how pious you are, how well you treat people, and how well you get along with the church. It's generally good to have piety, and it ends up later in the game being the most valuable stat in terms of what you will trade to get more piety. Stat gains for piety is the hardest one to get, and having a high piety is really good for lowering your bad reputation later in the game. So, also if it goes into negative numbers, if any of these go into negative numbers, bad things happen, basically. But piety is the worst one to have in negative numbers because, then you might be declared excommunicated or a heretic. So you don't want to do that. Right here is our character portrait, and we can click on the shield, and it will center on our home province, our capital, if you will. And it'll bring up this kind of context menu that happens. This box here is kind of the context menu for different things. If we click on another province on the shield, it brings up the context menu for them. If we click on the province here, it brings up this. More on that when we get into it a bit later. If we click on our portrait, it brings up the character screen, and there's a quick overview of this. These are resources. Here's our stats. I'll get into that when we start talking about advisors and stuff. These are our traits, so kind of get into that later. This little thing here is our bloodline thing. If you can kind of see at a glance, like this person is part of our bloodline, this person is part of our bloodline. This is again is our coat of arms. Here's our cultural and religious groups that we belong to. Here's our name, the date we're born, our age. This is the loyalty menu. We don't have a liege, so we don't really have loyalty to anyone else. But if we click on one of our vassals, we can see that this person is gaining loyalty to us and allows us to recruit his regiments. So that's useful to know. Below this kind of red thingy, is our titles. We are the Duchess of Brittany and the Countess of Rennes. I think that's how you pronounce that. I'm not really good with these French names. Another thing to note is the kind of gold circle with the blue ribbons. This indicates that we are a Duke level leader, and as you can see from our vassals, they are a Count level leader, and they have a smooth gold thing and a kind of a kite-shaped shield, while we have this broad kind of squarish shield. Alright, below this is our characters, kind of relationships to other characters. We don't have a liege, but as you can see from our vassals here, we have 4 vassals, one of which is our husband, I believe. Yes. He has us as his liege. So if we had a liege, it would show up here. And next to that is the vassals, like I just said. Vassals are basically the people you control. It's both good and bad to have them. It's bad because they can break away from you and cause problems for you. But it's good because it means you can control more provinces, and you can spread your bloodline out. And if your heir comes of age and doesn't have a province under his control, male heirs specifically, you will get a prestige hit. So keep that in mind. Over here is our allies. As far as I know, you can have up to 2, but it's really difficult to get more than 1 for various reasons. Most people won't ally with someone else if they've already got an ally. And you need a really high diplomacy to get 2 allies, I think. I don't really know if you can have 2 allies, but there's a room for it on the thing. I would assume you can, but normally you just have 1 at a time, and I've only ever seen 1 at a time. Below here's your parents. It's good for checking out who is related to who, and if you like select your kid, it shows up as you. A lot of times, as you can see, the characters will be dead, which is indicated by these darkening, the darkening here. Oddly enough, our parents are not part of our bloodline, which is probably because the only reason we are part of our bloodline is because we need to be part of our bloodline to control the province. I think the bloodline will actually be drawn through this guy. So yeah. Next to that is our spouse, who is the count of this place and this place. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. He actually has more provinces than we do. And this is basically who you're married to at the moment. If your spouse dies, you can get another spouse. And, you know, you can do it that way. I've had people with 5 or 6 wives before. I've never actually had a female leader, but I can see that it's going to work out okay because the traces the bloodline through her husband, and will still use, you know, the normal kind of thing. This is a children menu. This is our son, right here, who has really good stats from being age 0, but I think that's because he started the game existing. So yeah, this is probably the most important on the screen because your children are basically the successors and their bloodline. As you can see below here is the successors, and to continue our bloodline and continue the game, we need to keep people who are in our bloodline in succession as high as possible. We need our heir to be a part of our bloodline, and at the moment this is the case, and but we need to minimize the chance that these people will inherit. Next to the children is friends, which is friends and rivals are basically opposites. Friends are people who get a bonus to loyalty with you, and rivals get a penalty. Friends also will have different effects. If you're friends with another leader and they go to war, there are events that pop up that you know, you give them troops and you give them money, stuff like that. And rivals events will pop up where you kind of sabotage their stuff, and you know, having a rival is actually more useful than having a friend, because if there's a rival kingdom next to you, you can get claims on them cheaper. You spend prestige to get claims, which you need to declare war on non-religious enemies. Like, we can't declare war on Catholic people without having a claim on their land in some way. So yeah, that's useful. Over here is our siblings. It's mostly useful for tracking bloodlines and for checking to see how fertile your leader is and how fertile the people you are trying to marry into your leader's family are. You kind of want to see as many of these as possible because it means that it's a fertile bloodline. Below this is kind of our court members screen, our court members menu kind of thing. This isn't all that useful because eventually you'll get so many court members, this will just be a blur of circles, and it's really hard to kind of scroll through them. Right here is the ledger, and when I go into that, you'll kind of see that it's easier to use this than this. Right here is our claims. Again, kind of the same as this. You'll get a lot of claims, and it's easier to see what's going on. Although this one does have a kind of a portrait, you can see who holds the title at the moment. Yeah.